Okay, just a moment. Let me just share it once again. Yeah. So now this is visible, and at least it's visible to me. Yes. So stories were chosen because they will also inculcate imagination in the students. Now, when we say students, the target audience that I had in mind when we started the creation part was the secondary and higher secondary students, as considered in the Indian education system. That is, maybe the age group would be from 14 to 18 is was what my initial audience was supposed to be when the conceptualization of chemistry started. Uh, so the most important thing that stories can bring to science is the empathy, because this is starkly missing, is what I had been feeling constantly. Because our textbooks do talk of the discoveries, they do talk of inventions, but as a very small paragraph somewhere in the corner of the textbook, the entire focus is on the reactions and the mechanisms and the process, the way it works in the laboratory, in the industry. But it kind of gives that fragmented look, like I had said earlier. It also kind of doesn't give the student an insight to exactly what must have happened with the scientist or the inventor, because it doesn't happen right in one day or in one moment. Even if you're going to talk of inspiration, there is a lot of things that go behind the inspiration. So somewhere the students feel that whatever is in the textbook, they are not able to relate completely to it, and they miss out on the most important part, that is the empathy. So storytelling as a pedagogical tool has these advantages, which was decided to put in to place when we are creating a podcast. So once this was finalized, then came my first step, because I was not sure whether this could be received properly by teachers and students both. Since this was just an idea in my head, I thought better to have some background research first of all. So I started talking to students and to teachers both, that do you have stories, or do you know about a particular scientist? How did he discover? So the first thing that I had asked, I still remember, was about Kekule, who discovered the structure of benzene. So I had asked many students that you keep on drawing this particular structure, the ring structure of benzene, but do you know how it was discovered? So almost all of them, they just gave me a two-line sentence, that is, he dreamt about it. But what made him dream, and was it just as a fraction? And there were not much of details of an answer. That set me thinking that if this phenomenon of which we all use as chemists every single day, if that is so much untapped and unexplored, then what about those stories which are really unexplored and untapped? So then started the next step, that to find the stories. So now, to while finding the stories, there had to be balance, because there's always this keen interest of knowing the unknown. So this took, again, quite a bit of time to figure out which stories would be more interesting to people. Now, once this was done, I started experimenting and like trying to record and trying to write the story and such. But the first and foremost thing that came to my mind was, if this is ever going to happen, this will be under Creative Commons, because it is an educational podcast, and I would want this to be shared by maximum people in the classrooms, outside the classrooms. So the decision was done that yes, whenever I make this, uh, whenever I create this, this would come under the Creative Commons license. Now, there was another step. The most important decision was the background score, because without the background score, the podcast would seem like a panel discussion or an interview, which I actually did not want. Uh, why there was this difference is also because by then I had started doing storytelling in the classroom and in small groups. So there we don't usually have any background, but any background score. But then that is a stage performance, and this what I was planning was to put it up on some platform like a SoundCloud or maybe any other web-based or cloud-based platform. So where I wouldn't be seen, so background score, but it has to come under Creative Commons, and obviously there was no funding for it. So then who and what? So here comes my teammate, Deepak, who was my former student and now a sound recordist and a sound editor. uh, I just spoke to him that he had just started working as a freelancer and with a couple of studios in Mumbai. That's from where we come. So since he was my former student, I just told him that I have this particular idea and would you like to be a part of this? And he was more than enthusiastic to create the background score of the entire series of podcast that's called Chem-Mystery. Once we decided that he both of us were on board, then we put together of Chemistry was multifold, but we'll just say that there were three main parts. The first one was the choice of the story. Then I had to do the research and scripting out in such a way that it is always less than 40 minutes. Also, the background score required a lot of research because I had to tell him that this is the era or this is the year, the historical chronological part. So what would be the music or style of music used at in those times? Also, if the scientist is in UK, the music would be different. The scientist would be in the US, the music would be different, and so on and so forth. So we used to have a lot of sittings for that. And yeah, when I say we used to have a lot of sittings for that, it started in 2019, just a fag end of 2019. But later, we had to go online because, I mean, all our sittings had to go online because of basically the pandemic. So most of the sittings went into the online mode. So we had to do asynchronous communication a lot, where I would just send Deepak the things that this is what is required. Then he would try to figure out music, and there are instances where I will share with you that uh, some couple of glass breaking, he wanted to bring in as the music. So he actually broke a few glasses at home and recorded the shattering of the glass every time it was. And then he would send it across, and then he would say that, is this fine? Then we would have a sitting and we would weave in together all the components of the background score, where it will fit into the dialogue stage and where it will go into the background stage and all of that. And then once we would decide, then it would go in for the mixing stage, for the rough cut stage. So seems to be like quite simple, but well, it's not, because the and we enjoyed this. First thing about the scripting of the story, we have to keep four things in mind. One is the syllabus. That is, it has to have, it will be derived from the topics that are common for in India, that is given by the NCERT syllabus. So we always say that these stories would be based on science and science as per the entire textbook. Then came identity. I'm extremely sorry. I don't know why this is going off constantly after some time. Let me just share it again. Yeah, so by the time the screen gets shared, Uh, yeah. So the next step was identifying the why. Like, why do I want to tell the story? And why would somebody want to listen to the story? Then the question would be who, because there would be a couple of scientists working on the same topic. Then whose story do I choose? And then how do I put up the story? Now, when I say how do I put up the story, there would be two things. How would I put up the story, and how was the discovery or invention done? Now, when we decided to do this, then comes into the part of emotion, where the major three emotions, as you can see, were kept in mind, because this was for the students, that is the vulnerable group, that is, like I said, teenagers. It was initially the audience was supposed to be teenagers. So I did not want to give them stories which were devoid of hope, perseverance, and motivation. So ultimately, my aim was, because this is a pedagogical tool, along with the content that is there, which is behind the scene of any reaction or any discovery, I also wanted the students' affective domain to be touched. That if the student is going to listen to these stories, at the end of the story, the student has to have hope that, okay, even these great people failed in life, but and so I might also, but yet what I'm supposed to do is I'm not supposed to give up. So the quality of perseverance and motivation and the feeling of hope, it's something that I was really focusing on when I was doing the scripting. And after that, it had to have a larger community appeal, because as I started doing this and I started having the rough cuts, and I started doing a small pilot study of passing it off to my former students, and asking them to just listen to it like a couple of episodes and tell me what do they feel about it. So I found that many of the former students were no longer teenagers, but they really enjoyed it, and they gave me very valuable feedback as to which stories they would like to hear, and a few part where they would want this particular angle to be known more. So then I had to little bit restructure the script so that it could fit in for a larger appeal. Then comes the voicing of the script, where I mean, I had to just record it into the proper tone, mood, and the others. So what we followed was, first I used to voice the script, and then I used to send it across to Deepak, where then he and I would discuss about the emotion that we want to emphasize. Then we would speak about the era and culture, and then what is the setting of this particular story, and then, of course, the fine tuning. So, all of this went into the composition of the background score. Most of the times, we used to work simultaneously, that I was scripting, and by the time I would script the story, I would send it to him with all these moods and eras, cultures, settings, all of it marked out, so that by the time he creates samples of the background score, I would have voiced it out, and then we would just have been able to mix it, and that's how our sittings went. So this seems like a simplified process cycle, but it was not actually that simplified process cycle, because when we used to have our second sitting was the maximum times when we used to go back. Like sometimes what used to happen was, the background score chips that he used to create was so nice, but it never matched the script. Then, but if it was found to be too good, I would modify the script. So sometimes while talking the script, he would tell me, because he's a sound editor and sound recordist, he would tell me that no, this doesn't sound good. There is a lot of editing work will have to be done, and so please record this again. So all of this happened, most of it, so many to and fro times, that we really lost track. So even this looks simplified as 1 2 3 4. It's not 1 2 3 4, because after the second step we would come back to the first step. Even after the third step of reworking and fine tuning, we would feel that even after doing so, we have rejected the entire part, and we had actually reworked again right from the scratch. So even that has happened, and that has taken place. And then after multiple cycles, I guess 3 cycles or so, we were ready to upload. And then again, of course, where do we upload? So there are a couple of channels, but I chose SoundCloud because this was just an experiment, and I was wanting to first experiment whether the reach of the podcasts is actually what I'm imagining, or it is just only up to me. So we do have now on SoundCloud the uh, a certain amount of tracks, out of which the first one is the teaser, and then we have an intro track which says why do we need stories of chemistry, and then we have stories about scientists like Kekulé, Goodyear, Perkin, and others. And then last year, during the month of October, November, which is again a month of Navratri in India, which is a celebration of women power. So there was a separate series that was started only for women scientists, unheard stories of women scientists. So that includes Mary Anning, Rachel Carlson, and others, and it's still going on. Of course, the second wave of COVID that hit India took a toll on us also, and therefore our schedule is off the track quite a bit because of the hurdles that are there, that not only us but everywhere in the world people have faced. So we are yet in the process of creating more stories about women scientists, but at the same time, these are the reception of the stories, that is the chemistry. We have around more than 750 plus total plays that I can see. This the screenshots I have taken today morning, just early morning, so that the update that we get is just 1 hour before the screenshot is taken. This is the latest update. So also I found that whenever I used to share it on my social media accounts like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, what happens is I get comments on these three rather than getting comments on SoundCloud. So probably the my audience is more comfortable with social media for comments because most of them are my friends. But I yet have to delve a little bit more into the research part of this. We also started doing experimentation here, like like I said, the second series that we have, that is the Women Scientist series, doesn't have background score. Okay, and because it doesn't have background score, we literally have got messages from people. Yeah, okay, and also I would like to say that this was passed on to many teachers, pre-service and in-service teachers, who later on shared it with their students in their online classes. And I got messages from the WhatsApp group or from emails that the students did enjoy the stories, and so they would want more stories about it. So yes, we did some stories without the background score, and the messages tell us that it is a background score that makes it stand out a lot, and they love the background score. So now again, we have decided that yes, even if it is women scientists, and the whole purpose for removing the background score was dual. One, we just wanted to test whether the uh, I mean, without a background score, how does the audience take it? And also, just to make it stand out. But yes, um, we have experimented and we have got this particular preference that yes, we want the background score. So our work in progress is now here with the folk tales. That is what we are now dabbling in. We are actually working on folk tales across the world. And also, we're trying to have the same chemistry podcasts with the folk tales. And we're trying to bring in multiple artists. So, we are in talks with other professors of chemistry who would be liking to come on board with us. And this is an open call for people that if anybody wants to have a say in this particular podcast, please do contact us. Also, we are having this as work in progress because many school teachers and college teachers have told us that we want to listen to a particular type of series or a particular type of stories. And so this is the on demand stories section that we are coming up with. And that's all about it, about chemistry. Thank you for being a part of this particular session today. Do reach out to us at either the WordPress account or the SoundCloud account. And thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll just share the link of uh, the SoundCloud. Yeah, thank you, Natasha. Here is the link for SoundCloud, and uh, I don't mind giving my email ID as well in case any educator or any artist also would like to be on board. Then, oops, there is a mistake in there. I think I just missed out on one alphabet. Yes, here it is. Yeah, Frederick, thanks for the question. These are all CC licensed, and if there is time, then I would like to actually mm, make you. Uh, okay, let me just share the screen, and they're all CC licensed. You can see this. This is how it looks like, and I I just want to know whether this sound will be enabled when I share the screen. Otherwise, I'll just share the screen again, and yeah, system audio. Yes, just a moment. So I'll just play a particular story here, and I'll just take this is the one of I'll take the one from Kekule, and to the tests of your conscious mind. Most of the stories for our podcasts are taken from the blog posts of the official website of Royal Society of Chemistry, but you will also find these stories on various websites and various other books. Most of the chemistry students learn these stories in some form or the other. So, everywhere we have said that you can please feel free to share it with your students or something like that. Like the reference pages from where we have drawn are licensed under the Creative Commons license, CC by SA. Please feel free to share these podcasts in your class in any educational transaction with proper attribution. Please feel free to adapt the podcasts and do let us know how did it help you in your class. Thank you. Did that answer your question, Frederick? They're all CC by SA. And I just keep on sharing them on all my social media accounts, but I do wish that more and more teachers of science especially listen to this and create few more for their own subjects. Any other questions or anything? Any comments? Yeah, there has to be some easier way, and I'm still searching for easier ways to put up. Uh, if there would have been a repository, like if there is a repository for students, then from where they can take it, it would be much easier. I think so. And any questions or any other further comments? Okay, thank you, Frederick, for that. Yes, I will be joining Creative Commons CC India network on Telegram. Okay, there's one more question there. Uh, a course based on these audio tracks? Not really, but someday I intend to make a course because I do have my online course running, which is also having a similar title, that is Unraveling the History of Chemistry. But when I did that course, I had only two of my podcasts ready, so I could not include a lot of podcasts that were mine. Now that I have a certain number of podcasts ready, I will be trying to, and I'm also thinking of revamping the course of that Unraveling the History of Chemistry. If I do that and re-release the course, I hope to include all these, because the thing was that my History of Chemistry course was having a larger audience. But I can tell you, when I asked, I mean, when I spoke about the podcast, there were, the larger audience consisted of many teachers, many professors actually, from the physics as well. So when they heard this podcast, because I had only two of them at that time, so they also have subscribed to the SoundCloud channel, and they have told me and informed me that they have shared it with the students. But what is happening is, yes, as Frederick has pointed out, this is more like word to mouth, where our own personal networks, through that, these become popular and they reach out more to the audience. The CC India network on Telegram, do we, okay, we will be, I'll be adding. So if that's all, then yes, Frederick, thank you. Okay, then with this, I think we should be able to stop uh, this session as such. And Kate, will you be taking over?